Michelle graduated from Chapman University and is married to Dave Harrington, former deputy sheriff and the mayor of Aliso Viejo. Together, they have 5 children. With that, Michelle.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here with you guys today. Before I start, though, I just have to give a big shout out to my husband, whose birthday is today. Dave Harrington, happy birthday. He was so excited that he got to come with me on his birthday to a realtor event because he just gets really fired up when he thinks about real estate and realtors, and it's very exciting to him, so I'm just really grateful that he's here. So I wanted to talk about leadership, and this is a great venue for this because I know we're all leaders in this room. And one thing when I think about leadership, I think about, like, one of the first things is communication. And obviously communication is key when it comes to leadership, but we all communicate a little bit different, right? And we all hear things very different. So an example I can give you was when I was serving in the Marine Corps, how the different services communicated with each other. So for example, if your commanding officer told you to secure the building, and you were in the Army, you would post guards outside the building. If they said secure the building and you were in the Navy, you would sweep out the building, turn off the lights, and lock the doors. If they said secure the building and you were in the Marine Corps, you killed everyone in the building. And if they said secure the building and you were in the Air Force, you would take out a 5-year lease with an option to buy. So communication is very different. We all hear things very differently, but it's important to really understand who we're talking to, who's hearing us, and that helps us be a better leader. So my favorite subject in the whole entire world is discipline. I think that's what makes us great as realtors, and I think it's what makes us great as leaders. So if you're gonna run an amazing organization, and what I really want to talk a lot about today is running an amazing organization. When you talk about discipline in an organization, you're really talking about disciplined people, disciplined thought, and disciplined action. Are you disciplined? Are you doing those things you need to do every day in a consistent basis so that you're moving your company consistently forward and you're not lurching and lunging at things that are outside of what you're really good at? So discipline, the definition I like to use, is the ability to direct your thoughts, emotions, and actions towards a meaningful purpose. And my favorite quote, I have a lot of quotes in here, but one of my favorites is, you must suffer from one of 2 pains. It's either the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. And the difference is regret weighs tons where discipline weighs ounces. So, and I totally turned that around, I'm sure, but if you're disciplined now, and you're disciplined in the way you run your company, you will benefit, your agents will benefit, and you will have the freedom, discipline equals freedom, if you will have the freedom to have a better life in the long run. So leadership is a process. Has anybody here ever boxed? Like been in a boxing ring? Okay, good, we got some boxers in the room. Okay, when I got out of the Marine Corps, had this like weird feeling of not being able to crawl around in the mud and shoot things, and I was a realtor. I got right into real estate out of the Marine Corps, of course. I mean, what else do you do when you get out of the Marine Corps? You get into real estate. Typical progression. So I really felt like I needed that adrenaline. So I started boxing, and I actually won the Los Angeles Golden Glove Championship in my little, and I don't talk a lot about it because the reason I won is because the other girl didn't show up. But that's how scary I am. But that's okay, I still won. I had the little trophy, but I did box for a while and in training for the Golden Gloves and all that training, and then she didn't show up. Can you believe it? So whatever. I love Bruce Lee's quote that says, long-term consistency trumps short-term intensity. And if you ever have been in the boxing ring and know how long 3 minutes is, It's so freaking long. I remember the first time I got in the ring with my trainer, and I started, throwing punches and going at it, running around, doing all that. And about 30 seconds into it, I was draped all over him, and I was like, time out. Can I get a timeout? Can I get a timeout? And he's like, Michelle, we've only been in the ring for 30 seconds. It was exhausting. I was dying. You can't keep that up. You can't keep up that level of intensity. You have to be disciplined and reserved and wait for the other boxer will eventually wear themselves out. They'll eventually drop their hands, or they'll eventually throw a punch where they kind of like let the punch fall like that instead of throwing a sharp punch. When they let the punch fall like that, then you just come in and you just whack them. I mean, it is a really simple sport, but you have to have the discipline to sit back, keep your hands up, and not lurch towards these things that you think you might need or want. Champions don't become champions in the ring. They are merely recognized there. It is what you do at 5 o'clock in the morning. It is what you do in the dark of night. It is what you do every day that makes you a champion, not your time, in the ring where you're, holding your head above because a girl didn't show up. That's not what makes you a champion. It's the daily preparation, it's consistency. So when you talk about building a great company, the most important thing about building a great company is who. Not what. Don't think about what. Don't think about where. Don't think about your office space. Don't think about anything else other than who. Who's going to be with you to help you build that company? Because if you want to have a disciplined company, there's ways to do it. You can have a bunch of rules and bureaucracy, or you can have disciplined people, and then you don't need rules and bureaucracy. So who is more important than how? If you hire disciplined, motivated people, you don't have to have bureaucracy. I mean, who loves bureaucracy? Does anybody here love rules and bureaucracy and processes? No. That sucks. That's a terrible way. We got into this industry because we wanted freedom. We wanted freedom from, that's why I got into this industry. I wanted freedom from things like the Marine Corps, where you were told what to do every day, how long your nails could be, how you wore your hair, what you could drive, if you could drive, if you could go off base, if you were restricted to the barracks. I got into this industry because I wanted freedom. I didn't get into this industry because I wanted to follow rules and bureaucracy. So how do we prevent all these processes and bureaucracy? You hire disciplined people that are motivated like you're motivated. Because you can have bureaucratic mediocrity, or you can have disciplined excellence. One gives you freedom and the other doesn't. So distractions. We get so distracted in this industry. We get so distracted with technology or luxury or whatever it is that profit sharing, or whatever it is that, your company is starting to and I do it too. I just texted Cam Mirage, who's the owner of my company, and I was like, we should look into profit sharing. I mean, yeah, we get all distracted with these things, but it's the signature of mediocrity when people are changing too much, not when people are changing. We all hear about the Circuit Cities and the Blockbusters. We all hear about the companies that didn't change and went out of business because they didn't change, but we don't hear too much about the companies that changed too much, that are always looking for the next shiny penny, and that are investing all their money or all their time or changing the way they do business without really knowing if it works. So find your core competency. Find what you're really good at. It's more important to be great at something than first at something. Let the VC-backed real estate companies be the first at it. Let them spend all their money developing the new technology that might or might not work. And then you rip off and duplicate, right? Once you find out when they spend all their money on it and it works, okay, I'm gonna do that. Do you think your agents care if you're first? They don't care. Do you know who was first when it came to budget airlines? Pacific Southwest Airlines. Have you ever heard of Pacific Southwest Airlines? They're out of business now. They were the first. You know who's the best? Southwest Airlines. So what happened? What was the difference between Pacific Southwest and Southwest? Well, Pacific Southwest came up with a model, and Southwest Airlines copied everything from that model, everything. But Pacific Southwest Airlines said, you know what? I don't want to just be a budget airline. I want to be like United Airlines. So we're going to change. Instead of flying one jet, we're going to fly 7 jets. We're going to have a wide body. We're going to do cross country. It didn't take them very long before they just went out of business. Southwest Airlines uses one jet and stuck to their core competency, stuck to what they were good at, and they became the most successful airline in that era, and still very successful airline. So stick to what you're good at. Don't always just go after the shiny pennies. We need to be more disciplined than that. Another thing that gets in the way of our discipline is trying to be perfect all the time. Perfect is the enemy of good. Perfect is another way of procrastination. You're not going to do it until it's perfect. You're procrastinating. Sometimes it just takes just showing up. I like to talk about my husband and I and our workout routines. So my workout routine is I work out every day. Every day I get up, I work out. I might work out for 10 minutes, I might work out for an hour, I might work out for an hour and a half, but I work out every day. Dave's idea of working out is that he has to go to the gym, and then he has to do cardio for 20 minutes, and then he has to do back spies and tries, and then he has to cool down, and then he has to go in the sauna, and then you know how often he works out? Sorry, honey. Not as often as I work out. Why? Because I just show up. I just do it. It doesn't matter if it's 15 minutes, it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be good. Sometimes you just have to do it. Agility. So I talked a lot about not changing. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about when you do need to change. So the most important thing is not changing for change's sake. The other thing that you can do is be experimental. Fire bullets instead of cannonballs. Bullets cost $1. I mean, think of California, that might be twice that nowadays. You might not even be able to get them, but you get the point. So bullets don't cost as much money. They're not going to disrupt your whole organization. You don't need 5 people to load them into a cannon and then a huge ship to launch the cannon. They're easy. So you can decide to make a change in your organization and experiment with it. Maybe you want to centralize recruiting, not have your managers do it. Bring it into a central location. Try it with 1 or 2 people. Try it with one pipeline. See if it works. And if it works, you're firing bullets. Bullet, 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 bullet. Then you're like, this works. Let's fire a cannonball. We're over the target. Let's fire a cannonball. Let's change the way we do business. But don't just fire a cannonball. Don't just change the way you do business because you hear a great speaker and you think, oh my God, I need to do that. I need to change everything and do that. Fire bullets. Experiment. Your vision and core ideology, it's so important. So a vision is a clear mental picture of what could be, fueled by the conviction of what should be. Like, one thing I like to think about is, do you believe in what you're doing? Or are you just doing it because it's like easy money, you know? I mean, commissions now, average commission, it's like 20 grand in Orange County. Jeez. My first commission was like $1,500. Like, it's unbelievable the amount of money you can make in this industry. That's what's amazing about it. But do you really believe? Do you believe your agents are helping people realize the American dream? Do you believe you're helping people build these amazing careers? I mean, we have agents in our company that are making $1 million a year. They've built amazing lives for themselves, amazing lives for their families. Our top producing agent, her team makes about $3 million in commissions, maybe 4. She's an immigrant who speaks not great English. She's an amazing hard worker, and she has 30% market share in Fountain Valley. 30% in a city. I'm not talking about a track, in the whole city. I mean, her life from coming here from another country and making that kind of money, we got to participate in that. We got to do that. How cool is that? How amazing is that? I've had people that were bartenders and baristas, like the other guy said, that are now, making enough money to have a beautiful house in a beautiful area. How cool is that? Do you believe that? It's when you become a leader, you forfeit the right to put yourself first. It's people over profits. It's ambition for a cause. I'm ambitious as hell. I'm ambitious for a cause. I'm ambitious for our industry. I'm ambitious for the people that work in my company. I have a purpose. And if you can't get your mind around that, hire somebody that can. Because it's hard to build a great company and have a great organization if you don't believe. Leadership versus management. So leadership is the art of getting people to do what must be done. It's influencing people. It's not setting up systems and processes. Systems and processes is management. Hopefully that's not what you're, not like you don't need to set up systems and processes, but that's managing people. Leadership is influencing people. People who think they're leading and no one is following are just taking a walk. I love that. Are you really leading people? Are you influencing? Are you changing their lives? Personal responsibility. If you're a leader, it's your responsibility. If you're a leader in your organization, everything that happens in that organization is your responsibility. The buck stops with you. If you need to look at yourself and understand that you are where you are because of you. And I think in our society nowadays, I don't want to get preachy about our society, but we're taught not to take personal responsibility anymore. It's everybody else's fault. We teach our kids not to take personal responsibility. It's a terrible way to be a leader. It's a terrible way to have a society of people who think things happen to them and that's who they are or why they are where they are because of their circumstances. That is not true here in the country we live in. You are where you are because of you. Everybody has circumstances. 80% of everything in our lives is due to circumstances. Where you were born, who your parents were, if you have a disability or a mental deficiency. 80% of everything is what has happened to you, the circumstances you're in. But the difference between the great people and the not so great people are what you do with the circumstances you have. It is your responsibility. You're not a child anymore. You can't blame your parents. It's your responsibility. You are where you are because of you. Whatever happens in your company is your responsibility. And to think about that in a really positive way is what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. My time in the Marine Corps was hard. It was really hard. When I was in boot camp, I wanted to quit every day. Every day I got up and I'm like, what the f am I doing here? I don't want to be here anymore. I want to go home. But you just get up every day, and what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. You become a stronger person because of the circumstances. Humility. This is very interesting to me because I've done a lot of research on humility because Cam, the owner of my company, he'll say to me, what I love about you, Michelle, is you have no ego. And I'm like, have we met? What are you talking about? I think I have an ego. At least I am very confident. And I'm not sure how that came about. I played sports a lot when I was younger. I was a good athlete. And I think that might have made me very confident. And those of you that have girls, make sure your girls play sports. It is a big part of making women strong women. But anyway, I digress. So I was like, I'm not humble. I'm prideful. I think of myself as a prideful person. But there's a difference between the opposite of humility isn't confidence. You can be confident and you can be humble. What it means to be humble is that you listen, that you don't always think you know everything. You don't always think you know best, that you're compassionate. These are things that make you humble. Humility is telling yourself the truth And ego is nothing but lying. If you're lying to yourself, then you have an ego. If you're honest with yourself, you're being humble. Being humble is having the ability to trust people. And it goes both ways. Are you trustworthy? And do you trust other people? I'm lucky that I think I'm both. I don't lie. I never lie. I'm honest to a fault, and people sometimes don't appreciate how honest I am. And I think that's why my agents and the people on my staff and my managers, they trust me. But another reason why they trust me is because I trust them. And if I didn't trust them, they'd be fired. Slow to hire, quick to fire. Do not have people on your staff that you can't trust. So it's interesting, back in the 50s and 60s, the government, 80% of people trusted the federal government before Vietnam. And then now, when you take that same poll, it's 80% of the people mistrust the federal government. So what do you think happened in that, 40-year, 60-year, what is it? I'm not great at math, period, that made us go from 80% trusted to 80% didn't trust? It was because our leaders didn't trust us. That's why they lost our trust. They didn't trust us enough to tell us the truth in Vietnam. And McNamara, actually, who's the Secretary of State, wrote in his book that he told us we were winning the war and we weren't winning the war. He said that he deceived the people. So that's not something I just made up. They don't trust us to tell us the truth, to be honest with us about what's going on. So we don't trust them. It's the same thing with we're not, the leaders of today think we're incapable or stupid or silly people, the silly little people, If you think that the people that you lead are silly little people, they don't understand what we do up here, us big shots. They don't understand how much pressure, everything we have going on. We can't tell them because they just don't understand. That's ego. That's not being humble. You will not be a good leader if that's the way you think. And you will not earn anybody's trust. You need to trust them. And if you don't trust them, like I said, boom, out. But if you trust them, then they will trust you. It goes both ways. Humility is not thinking less of yourself. It's thinking of yourself less. Gratitude. My favorite, besides discipline, gratitude is my favorite. Because I feel really lucky. I was born being happy. Thank God. Because my sister is opposite. I think God gave me all the happiness and gave her all the sadness. And it's I'm sad for her, I really am. And I try to help her. But I'm thank God, thank God he gave me the happiness, I love this quote. Gratitude turns what we have into enough and more. It turns denial into acceptance, chaos into order, confusion into clarity. It makes sense of our past, brings peace for today, and creates a vision for tomorrow. So how lucky do you feel that you are here? And I know it's not easy for everybody, like my sister. I know she wakes up every day thinking, this sucks. My life sucks. And I wake up every day yay! Hello, morning. So I understand it's not easy for some people. So I think we need to train our minds. Just like we can train ourselves to be disciplined and train ourselves to take the perseverance and the steps we need to take every day to help our companies go forward and to help ourselves go forward, we can train ourselves to be grateful. And one big thing that I think about when I think about gratitude is how grateful I am to be born here and to be born now. Because if you think about, I adopted 2 kids from Ethiopia. They were obviously born in Ethiopia. They had no running water. They went to the bathroom in these little holes in the ground. They had no electricity. They were very malnourished, very sick. And according to the stats, when they got released from the orphanage when they were 18 years old, they wouldn't have survived more than 1 or 2 years after that, the majority of them. So luckily, we adopted them, they came here, but we left hundreds of thousands of orphans back there behind. You could have been born there. You know, any one of us could have been born there. When you look at us women, we could have been born in Afghanistan, where we wouldn't be able to drive, we wouldn't be able to get an education, we wouldn't be able to start a real estate company. How lucky are you to be here now, to be in this time? When you wake up and you think, my life sucks, then think about all the people around the world that aren't as lucky as you. And I think that's when we can really be grateful and really train our minds. Because if you're grateful, you're happy. And if you're happy, other people around you are going to be happy. You're going to be a better leader if you're grateful for what you have. Okay, so to wrap it up, discipline. You being disciplined, and start with who? In your company, as you grow your company. Pick disciplined people to help you run it. Stick with your core competency. Don't lurch at all the shiny pennies that are out there in the industry. Stick with what you know you're good at and capitalize on that. Fire bullets, not cannonballs. Experiment cheaply. Let the VC-backed companies experiment expensively. People over profits. Got to put your people first. The money will come. And then humility, gratitude, and no excuses. Thank you, guys.